Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? It is Well Red Beard. We are here for a book review. Let's talk about a book. Today we're going to talk about the classic Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. This was a reread for me. Of course, I've seen the film. I didn't watch it recently along with this reread, but I have seen the film and I read this probably back in the 90s or so when I was a young man. But I like the book. I was at 4 stars before this reread. I think I'm still there. I'm still at 4 stars. What this book does great is, of course, it's subtle, slow burn, um, escalating horror. But you ever have one of those dreams where like you're like on the run or there's people chasing you and you actually like run up on someone you trust and know like in the dream and they're against you too, and then you run up on the next person and they're against you too. I mean, this book feels like that dream. It feels do you have those dreams? It's surely not me. I mean, I ain't had one in a while, but uh, I don't know. Anyway, but this book feels exactly like one of those types of dreams. I mean, where everyone is against you, and the people that you run to for shelter, for help, for because you trust them, you realize that they're kind of out to get you too. And so Rosemary, her and her husband move into this new apartment building, and it's the late '60s, and people are way more social. Then there was no Netflix and chill. I mean, I know Netflix and chill doesn't mean what I think it means, but anyway, so there was none of that, and people were more social, and so I'm imagining that in these apartment buildings there was more of a social aspect to it, but immediately it gets kind of weird, like people kind of invading her privacy, and it just kind of goes from there, right? I mean, her husband didn't really want to have a baby, but then all of a sudden he does, and it all happens on a night where she was basically sick, and but it was that time of the month, right? So that was his excuse that she wanted a baby really bad, so he didn't want her to miss a cycle or whatever. So he kind of took advantage of her while she was asleep. But we get bits and pieces, tidbits of this vision, this dreamlike sequence of what happens while she's under the influence, and while this is going on, and ultimately the night that she is impregnated. But we don't really know, right? And I'll stop right there because that's the thing, right? I mean, the pollution of knowing what happens, or having an idea what happens. I'm doing these books for this Unburying the Dead podcast, and so far all of them, well, most of them have been rereads for me. But we did what did we do? We did House on Haunted Hill. I'm sorry, the Haunting of Hill House. We did Jaws. We've done Rosemary's Baby. So The Haunting of Hill House was a reread, but everybody knows that. If you're a horror fan, you know that. You know at least the gist of the story. So pollution, right? And then same thing with Jaws. If you haven't read it, you've seen the film. So pollution, and with this one here, like the pollution was so heavy, like it was tough to I guess be surprised on a reread. But I would like to imagine what that would have been like reading this when it first came off the shelves, but before it was a film, how that had to feel. It had to be, nuts. I mean, it's a bestseller, New York Times bestseller for a reason. But yeah, I mean, slow build horror, the everybody's against you type thing, the solitude, the feeling of gotta fly, the feeling of being alone, and the person that you trust the most kind of turning on you, and ultimately um her husband, trying not to see if I'm spoiling anything here, her husband starts to immediately benefit in his career. He's an actor, and he starts to immediately, as a matter of fact, one of his biggest competition for like all these other roles and stuff becomes ill, and it's like he gets this immediate just jumpstart to his career, and you feel that you're like, man, he's in on this. He's done something. He's made a deal with the proverbial devil, right? And that just escalates. It escalates and escalates and escalates, and until she has the baby, and that's as far as I can really go with it. But I mean, it's got a really good ending. I mean, now personally for me, being a hardcore horror fan, and kind of paying a lot of attention to the people that are willing to really go all in on like a horror ending. I kind of didn't remember. Like, I thought it might go another way. I kind of did not remember how things would settle in the ending. I kind of thought there might be a possibility of things going a much more extreme, but possibly satisfying. I'm sick in my head. Possibly satisfying way. But I mean, I enjoyed the book. It's 4 stars. Very, of course, atmospheric. I don't use that word a lot, but great setting with the apartment house, the Branford. A great cast of villainous secondary characters, of support, a great supporting cast. And this is the hardcover. I don't know if it's not a first edition, but it's not. I thought it might be a. I don't think it's a first edition. It doesn't say book club edition though, but I don't know. Anyway, this but the print was really like nice and big in it. And I mean, I just cruised through it, just really blew this thing away. And so yeah, so I'm at 4 stars. Ira Levin's Rosemary's Baby. It's a classic. You have to have it for me if you're a fan of biblical horror, satanic horror. I mean, slow burn horror. Just the classics. I mean, if you're going to review horror books, I think it's important to have this one in your toolkit. I mean, I say that a lot, but a masterpiece of modern day horror, it says. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm at 4 stars. I did a little bit of like research on the movie, in order to do this review. Did you know that? So Guy Woodhouse is her husband. He's the actor, right? Robert Redford was who they wanted to play this role, and he ended up he didn't. And the person that played the role, like, I don't even recognize his name, and I don't have it on the tip of my tongue right now. But Mia Farrow, she's the actress. She plays Rosemary. Sharon Tate wanted that role like really, really bad, and she actually is that on? Did y'all see that? I think I thought, I don't know. I thought I had a fly there. Anyway, I'm talking a book about Satan here in a flash. I mean, that's kind of weird right now. But anyway, so Sharon Tate wanted that gig. She wanted that role, and Paramount, I think it was, eventually hired Mia Farrow, but Sharon was Roman Polanski's wife, and she's actually was on set for the filming, and she actually is in a scene, like in the background, like a little house party scene that when Rosemary decides to have like a little house party for her like old friends, for her young friends, but her old friends, like her friends outside of this current house and situation and whatnot. And Sharon Tate's actually in the background of that. And then we all know that Sharon Tate was murdered by the Charlie Manson crew not very long after that. So there's a lot of mystique, a lot of shit around this book, a lot of conjecture and like urban legend. And, a lot of people believe that the movie was cursed. Because you've got people in, I don't know when the movie was out. The book was 67. Let's say the movie was out 70, 71. I don't know. But you got people, on screen at the end of this thing saying, "Hail Satan, Hail Satan." And they're like, nothing good is going to come of this Hail Satan stuff. But anyway, so it's definitely a good book. 4 stars for me. Ira Levin, Rosemary's Baby. I hope you like my review. I hope you're enjoying all your books, all of them, as much as I am. If not, you're reading the wrong damn books.